Today, I'm talking about what bipolar disorder actually looks like from the outside. I can't tell you what's going on inside someone else's head, but I can tell you what signs to look for. You can't diagnose anyone from these signs, but you can use them to help you understand someone better and to support them. So these are the 10 red flags I personally watch for in a friend, coworker, or family member who I thought might have bipolar disorder. Let's talk about the big signs you're most likely to see. I'm Patty, the girl with blue energy. I have bipolar disorder and I make videos about mental health and personal growth. The first one is a sudden change in personality. Does it seem like the person you know has two different personalities? One day they're bubbly and energetic, and the next day they're barely talking. Or maybe they're really sweet one minute, and the next they're really irritable and hard to be around. So one of the things you'll see in people with bipolar disorder is that it's almost like we have two different versions of ourselves. The hypomanic, manic me, and the, what my kids like to call pity party me. So when we're on the up, or hypomanic or manic, we're energetic, we're bubbly, we're fun to be around, everybody likes us, and generally we're really nice to everyone. And then when we're on the depressed side, we're the opposite. We're irritable, we're moody, we're difficult to be around. We might go from talking a lot to barely talking to you at all, to the point where you're wondering, what did I do wrong? So that is a big thing you'll see in bipolar people. We have major shifts in our personality when we go from hypomania to depression. The next red flag you'll see is talking too fast. When someone is manic, one of the big things you'll notice is how much they talk. Now, I'm not talking about your annoying coworker who won't shut up, unless that coworker is me. I'm talking about someone who talks a lot and talks really fast. When someone has bipolar disorder, they will talk really fast. Now, this is not the same thing as someone who just talks a lot, or even someone who talks really fast. You kind of have to pay attention to this, because there are people who talk a lot and talk fast who don't have bipolar disorder. What you're looking for is someone who's talking without taking breaths, without pausing. They're just going fast, 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 fast. You can't get a word in because they're going so fast. Their words and sentences tend to skip around, so they don't always make sense, because they go over here and they go over there and then come back to here and they skip around. They might also skip words, not just skip around. So if they leave out a few words while they're talking, this can be a big sign of bipolar mania. But it's the big thing you see is that they're talking super fast, almost uncontrollably. And when I say uncontrollably, it really is. When we get in this manic state, we can't control our talking. It goes really fast and we can't seem to stop it. So this is a big red flag to look for in someone you might suspect has bipolar disorder. Number 3 is noticeable changes in mood and energy. What you're looking for aren't, just regular mood changes. Everybody has their bad days, or is in a bad mood once in a while, or is super excited once in a while. You're looking for big extreme changes in energy and mood, but more specifically energy. One of the things people don't realize about bipolar disorder, because everyone thinks of it as a mood disorder, it's really more of an energy disorder. So we will be coming in acting like the Energizer Bunny that can go and go and go and go 1 minute, and then the next minute we're like in slow-mo and can barely function. What you'll often see in someone with bipolar disorder is that when they're on the upside, or the manic side of their mood disorder, this is when they take on a ton of new projects. They're all ambitious and excited, and it's because they have a ton of energy. So this is when they're going to clean their house from top to bottom. They're going to decide to become the Girl Scout troop leader, or sign up for that committee at work, because they've got all this energy to do it. But then we come off of this manic energy and we crash, and we can barely get out of bed, let alone take care of 500,000 projects we signed up to do. So the big thing you're looking for is changes in a person's energy If you notice that they have a ton of energy, or they come across to you like the Energizer Bunny or the peppy cheerleader with all this energy, it's quite possible that they do have bipolar disorder, especially if you see a crash in their energy later where they are depressed and don't have that kind of energy. Number 4, sexually inappropriate behavior. Hypersexuality is a huge symptom of bipolar mania, and it's something that doesn't get talked about enough or correctly, in my opinion. So some of the signs you might see is that your person might start dressing more provocatively or more seductively. Another thing they might do is they might start posting much more provocative, revealing type photos on social media. This is a sign that they could be experiencing hypersexuality. Not necessarily, but it is one thing you can watch for. If they suddenly start posting lots of pictures that are kind of risque and revealing. If you're a person who gets texts from them and notice suddenly they're sending you more flirtatious, border the line on sexual text messages, this could be a sign that they're experiencing hypersexuality, because when someone is going through that hypersexual phase, they will test things with people, and so they may send you something and see how you respond. Another thing you might see is that suddenly they're going through relationships or getting into relationships really quickly. They're going out with somebody they barely know and doing things with them. If that's completely out of character for them, that could be a sign of hypersexuality. Number 5, impulsive decisions. Do they make big life decisions out of nowhere? Like, hey, I'm moving to Albuquerque, I'll be there next week. Yeah, that was me. Or like quitting jobs really quickly or taking spontaneous trips without thinking about it. This kind of decision making could be an indicator that someone has bipolar disorder. We tend to make big decisions without thinking much about them when we're hypomanic or manic. And it's something you may see in someone who has bipolar disorder. It might not be as obvious to you if you're looking at a friend, but if you see them making impulsive decisions, they don't necessarily have to be big crazy ones like let's move across the country. They can be just not thinking things through and making quick decisions without thinking about it. That can be an indicator that they're hypomanic and making impulsive decisions during that time. Number 6, adrenaline junkie. Is your person an adrenaline junkie? Do they love excitement, stress, taking risks? Would you describe them as someone who gets off or enjoys adrenaline? That is often a sign of bipolar mania. We love the rush of doing challenging, bold, crazy things. We like that dopamine hit we get from it, and we get bored with the monotony of life. So we will do things that challenge us, that are things other people might consider really stressful or really crazy, but we can also just do a lot of risky things that aren't smart, just general risk-taking, bad behaviors, bad decisions. So it can take many forms, but if your person is someone who thrives on stress and thrives on adrenaline, this could be a sign that they have bipolar disorder. Number 7, big heads and big ideas. Big ideas and big egos are classic red flags for bipolar disorder. And the reason is when we're manic, we experience something called grandiose thinking, which basically means we're delusional about ourselves. We think we're bigger, better, badder than we are. So this may come across as being overconfident or cocky, like we think we're the GOAT, or it can go as far as we think we're God, depending on the level of mania you experience. This is a time when people take on big ideas, like we think we're going to kick butt at everything. We're going to write a book. We're going to run a marathon. We're going to start a new business. This is when we get really big ideas and think we can do them. And, when we're in this manic state, we can't be objective. Maybe this is a good idea, or maybe this is just another one of our big manic crazy ideas that when we come down from it, we realize that was the bipolar mania. So if you see someone that you suspect has bipolar disorder and they get really big-headed or have really big ideas, or are the person that's constantly trying to start some big business or write a book or do something a little bit out of their level because they think they can, this could be bipolar mania you're seeing. Number 8, spending sprees. This is a common problem for people with bipolar disorder. When we get manic, we spend money, whether we have it or not. We think we'll figure out how to make that money later because we're really good at hustling, and we're going to just spend this money and we'll worry about how to pay for it later, if we're even thinking that far ahead. What I've seen with people who have bipolar mania is they will spend a lot of money. Sometimes it's just getting on Amazon and buying a bunch of stuff, but sometimes it's really big purchases. They go out and finance a new car or a new house. My dad financed 2 houses when he was manic. So these can be big purchases with big consequences. If you see somebody who spends big money when they don't have any way to pay for it, like they're buying everybody at work lunch when they can't afford their own lunch, this could be a symptom of bipolar mania, especially if they have some of the other signs going on. Number 9, insomnia. Insomnia is the biggest red flag and symptom of bipolar disorder, in my opinion. Because when we get manic, this is usually what you see. We don't sleep. Either we can't fall asleep, which happens a lot, or we wake up ridiculously early, ready to go. And the difference between our insomnia and your insomnia is that we can go days without sleeping. I know when I was first diagnosed that I would go 3, 4, 5 days getting very little sleep, sometimes 1 or 2 hours of sleep. And when it starts, you have a lot of energy, even though you're not sleeping, because this is what a manic episode looks like. We have a lot of energy, which means we don't need sleep, or we don't think we need sleep. And truthfully, even if we try to sleep, we can't sleep. So if you know someone that's struggling with sleep, like they tell you, I didn't sleep very well, I didn't sleep well the night before that, and the night before that, and especially if they're coming to work, or I say work, wherever you see them, with a lot of energy and not sleeping, there's a chance that this is bipolar mania. Number 10, psychosis. Psychosis is a symptom of bipolar mania. You won't see it with hypomania. And a lot of people don't realize that this is a symptom of bipolar disorder. I want to talk about this for a minute because there's a lot of things people don't understand or know about psychosis. So one of the things is not getting enough sleep for days and days and days is one of the big triggers for having psychotic episodes. The only time I've ever experienced psychosis was when I was going 3, 4, 5 days without sleep. That's why I say insomnia is such a big symptom to watch for, because if somebody's going that many days without sleeping, it's only natural that their brain's going to start doing weird things. Sometimes spotting psychosis isn't always easy or obvious, but they may say things to you that just don't make sense. Like, today I saw these guys following me in these black sedans. Or, I think God gave me this special gift. Or they might seem really paranoid about something. Those are some signs that somebody is experiencing psychosis, and they may not just flat out say, hey, I'm talking to God today. But if you see signs that seem odd, that could be bipolar mania. This list is not comprehensive. I didn't include every possible symptom you could experience if you have bipolar disorder, because a lot of those symptoms are things we experience internally, so you might not necessarily see them as an observer. I try to focus on the red flags that someone looking from the outside would see. So these are the main red flags that I would notice in someone who has bipolar disorder, and I hope they were helpful to you. I try to make informative videos that help people from the perspective of someone who has bipolar disorder. I've lived with it a long time, so I know a lot about what it looks like and how to manage it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate all the kind words and support. If you like my channel, please support me by clicking the like button and subscribing. I'll see you guys again real soon.